inside my head. I try to turn it down, but I can't quite drown it out. I'm tortured every
Welcome.
day.
Thank you so much for joining us today. You're listening to Society Bites Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Richard Himmer.
And I'm Sherry Himmer, and this is Authentically You, social interaction for the mind and soul.
For the next 25 minutes, we're going to talk about healing and growth from the inside out. Remember, you are 100% responsible for your happiness, joy, and well-being. Sherry, there's a lot going on right now, and this is going to be a little bit different than maybe the way we started before. With everybody in life, sometimes there are challenges that get thrown our way we don't see coming, or at least they hit us really quick coming out of it. And we're picking up from last time on what's called the Awareness Journal. And in that space, there's got to be a reason why we're doing it.
Yeah. And you've had a lot of people when they kind of hit that point where life hits them in the face and they're like, okay, if I could begin to change me, change my circumstances with just one thing, what would that one thing be?
In emotional intelligence, I always teach that the most important thing to do is self-awareness. The most difficult and most impactful is empathy. We're in the same position. The most important thing you could do, the single thing you could do, is to start paying attention to what's going on around you. The most impactful way to do that is to keep an awareness journal. Now, to me, if you had said that to me at any time before the last 5 years, I'd have said no, not interested, don't want a journal. That's not true. That's how I wrote my book. But journaling or diaries don't carry a positive connotation to a lot of people. So I've narrowed it down to just writing 4 sentences that have a huge impact on you every single day.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people get turned off by because I think they have to write volumes and volumes, and they may not enjoy writing. They may not feel like they have access to writing and the process of writing. So when you can simplify and think, oh, wait, we're talking about 4 statements.
Right.
That is different than thinking of volumes of writing. And so I want people to know right off that an awareness journal does not have to be this burdensome writing task.
So if now I have clients who actually write 4 sentences. And then I have clients who write 4 pages.
Sure.
So they come in all different,
right.
And there's no right or wrong. The exercise is what's so critical. And so if they just start paying attention, and what happens when you know you have to write 4 sentences at the end of the day, or at least sometime during the day, your entire day comes with a different energy. You're now looking for it. What am I going to learn? What am I going to be aware of? How am I going to take care of myself? And what am I thankful for? So from last time, we talked about the 4 sentences you're going to write. Number 1, IQ, something you learned. Number 2, EQ, or emotional intelligence. It just sounds nice, EQ. Something you noticed. Number 3, advocate, something you did for yourself for the purpose of being able to serve others. So I wanted to qualify that. It isn't a narcissistic thing, a selfless thing. It is, if you're a mother and you're raising children and you're just exhausted, let's say you're working and raising children and exhausted, when you take care of yourself, you're doing so because you're going to be able to be stronger to help your children later on. That's what I mean by advocate. And then number 4, what are you thankful for? Yesterday, I had just a wonderful conversation with my Metagenics rep, Kevin Strawn, who's been on the show. And he was sharing with me some research on gratitude. And we're going to cover this in a little bit, but gratitude plays a significant role with anybody during the course of a day on your mood, just on the chemical balances inside your body.
Can I illustrate a point with that? So we've been going through some interesting situations this week, and it's involved watching peers go through, I think, hard times and such. And I've been supporting someone who's going through a lot of physical suffering, and trying to be with that person and help that person. And it was really interesting that this person's facing a lot of difficulties and was expressing a lot of fear about the what ifs in
Right.
her life because of physical
Right.
changes, because of a medical condition. And immediately when I asked her a question, and it had to do with her teaching career, which she's a gifted teacher, she totally changed. Her countenance up to then had just been fraught with fear, and they were justifiable fears. But as soon as we started talking and changed the subject to teaching, her countenance, the color, her eyes
Her
lightened up,
energy.
because she says it's a gift, and not like she was patting herself on the back. She says it's a gift that's been given to me, and I know it came from God. I don't know why I got it, but I recognize it as a gift. And I said, do you understand? I've just seen everything about you. Every fiber of your being changed physically because you went from fear to gratitude.
Mm.
So anytime we can introduce gratitude, and especially if we're feeling a negative something in our life, we can turn a gear of gratitude on. We're going to change our space. And it was absolutely fascinating. I've known this. We've all seen and experienced it to some degree. This was probably the most profound gratitude contrast I'd ever seen.
Just to put in perspective or context to what's going on here, Sherry's been gone for the last 4 days helping her friend out of state. And while I'm not there, I sense the tenor of what's going on through her text messages and the phone calls that we're having. And one particular one came over and said that this is the hardest thing that I've ever done, quoting you. And so I could feel the heaviness of this one. And so just to put in perspective then and awareness on my side, I served a mission for my church 40 some odd years ago. And I'm going to a reunion in Utah that I haven't seen these people in 40 years, right? And I was very excited to go down and see some old friends. And as I'm going through the Facebook page where we're talking about who's coming and who's being invited, I was looking forward to seeing a gentleman by the name of Ken Daly. Ken Daly I met in Switzerland, and after our missions, we did a lot of socializing and just messing around and just getting to know each other. Anyway, I found out that he had just passed away from a bicycle. He was riding a bicycle and he had a heart attack while riding the bicycle. Now, we're the same age, and I'm an avid cyclist. And what really made this hit home was that my other really good friend last week passed away.
Our cycling buddy.
Our cycling friend. I'm wearing my cycling jersey today because we're leaving to go to the funeral in a little bit. He had a heart attack after a 5-hour
on his bike
after a 5-hour bike ride. And so even though this seems heavy, the level of gratitude that I feel towards knowing these men, knowing their families, knowing what a difference they made in the community, reading, like on Ken's, I read the obituaries, and they do this now online where people can go in and make comments on the obituary. Like a blog. And then the impact Mark Cavanis has had on this community and the people. He's taught early morning scripture study for
long time.
17, just a lot of years. And the people who know him, even my boys remember him vividly. So I was golfing with Ray yesterday, my brother-in-law, and Ray just had nothing but praise to talk about Mark. So what I'm suggesting is, there are tough things that are going on, but if we can stop long enough just to sense the gratitude we have, and why are we here, and what is our purpose, and just get a feel for what's going on around us, it can lift spirits. I know it's been a little heavy in our home because all this has happened all in 1 week.
Yeah, it's been a heavy week. And I think that's one of my biggest takeaways is that when you're watching someone who's dealing with a lot of pain and you're witnessing it and a lot of suffering, and it's more than you can fathom. It's horrible to have to watch someone go through that. But at the same time, you're grateful in a sense for the pain. It changes you and you see things differently. You see and notice things that you wouldn't otherwise notice. And I'm grateful for that out of the experience.
Right.
I came home feeling different because of the experience. And I'm glad for it. I'm truly glad for it. So gratitude is so powerful.
Yeah.
We're just, I think, really anchoring on that principle that if there's
Maybe it'll
a
help us get
part
through
about the awareness journal, it's
Yeah.
the gratitude of even hard things that put them in a perspective and a light that will keep you in a different mindset. It will keep you out of that drama triangle and that victim trap for sure.
Yeah.
I do know that.
This is what Kevin said yesterday. So we were in here, we were just going over gastrointestinal supplements and ways to help treat leaky gut and whatnot.
Mhm.
And we got chatting about some things in life, and we were talking about Mark and him passing away and whatnot, and gratitude came up. And Kevin has done some good studies in gratitude, and we were able to share back and forth. And he made a comment. He says, when you're in gratitude, when you're in a space of gratitude, you're not in yesterday
Mhm.
and you're not in tomorrow.
Yeah.
You're in today.
You get away from well, what if this happens? And what if this happens? It takes over your physical presence so much that it anchors you in the present.
Yeah. And that was powerful for me because I deal with very few exceptions. I deal with people who have tremendous anxiety. Majority of the society today lives in a state of anxiety. And anxiety is all about tomorrow. And their sense of anxiety about tomorrow is based upon what happened yesterday.
Yeah.
So your stress is your yesterday. Your anxiety is the tomorrow. Where gratitude helps ground you is in the now, is in the present. And I don't wish. I mean, I can feel the energy in the room now, and seeing my wife get emotional isn't always my favorite thing in the world to do, but just the reality, of that we can be in that state of gratitude. I'm looking forward to being with people, at Mark's funeral, and seeing all the different cycling jerseys that I hope will be there, and just share a beautiful life.
Yes, a very beautiful life. And so the whole point of this awareness journal is that you're using it as a daily dose of where are you, checking in on things that are going to anchor you not into anxiety and not into stress.
Yeah, the reason that I suggest doing it, and this is what I picked up years ago when I came across the idea. It came out of studies from Jonathan Haidt, but called the happiness hypothesis. But the point of it being, and I'm going to go back to a saying that we started with in our last segment. When your awareness is raised, you see the invisible, you hear the unheard, and you understand the incomprehensible. If you do not see, hear, or understand what is there, they will control you. Now imagine you're going through a time where you've lost a loved one, or you see a loved one suffering. Being present is going to give you tremendous amount of strength.
Yeah.
It will ground you. It will center you. It will keep you in the middle of the bowling alley, so you don't go off into the gutter. So where we're going with this now is imagine your day starting with a habit of preparing to learn something, be aware of something, advocate for yourself, and then be thankful for something. There's the beginning of the day. That habit will create a habitat.
So the journal itself is the expectation for each day that you're living.
Correct.
And wow, there's immediate change the moment your feet hit the floor out of bed.
You've set the stage for your energy for the day, and you've grounded yourself going forward, knowing I'm going to look for something to learn. I'm going to be mindful of something today. I'm going to pay attention to it, and we're going to actually be specific on what you start with. The advocate thing, and I know we've hit gratitude a lot given where we're coming from right now, but I cannot tell you how important advocate me is. We oftentimes think that we're third. God is first, neighbor is second, we are third. There is no God, there is no neighbor until you've got yourself put together. If you're a wreck, if you're completely broken down, how are you going to have a relationship with others, let alone deity? And then the gratitude. Okay, so let's break this down and go into the different 4 categories in the time that we have left. So starting with IQ. Now keep in mind, this is a data point. So in this category, you're practicing being a lifelong learner. Now, this came out of doing this for years. There are 2 categories of IQ.